unborn baby. Today, a judge issued a temporary halt to the law.
Kate Cox of Dallas is 20 weeks pregnant with a fetus her doctors have determined will either be stillborn or will die soon after birth. Texas law does allow for abortions if the mother's life is at risk, and Cox's attorneys argued that she fit the criteria. District Court Judge Maya Guerra-Gamble.
I am going to grant the temporary restraining order for Ms. Cox.
The Texas Attorney General's office has not said yet whether it will appeal the ruling. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
New York's governor announcing police are investigating reports of shots fired at Temple Israel in Albany. There are no reports of injuries. The governor says New York State Police and the National Guard are on heightened alert at synagogues and Jewish centers due to the Israel-Hamas war and the start of Hanukkah. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza getting worse by the day, with Israeli forces targeting Hamas in southern Gaza. Hospitals say for the first time since the war began 2 months ago, they are receiving more civilian fatalities than patients. More than 130 hostages, including Americans, also remain in Gaza. National Security spokesman John Kirby says talks are happening every day to reach a new ceasefire deal to free those hostages.
We're still trying to get as much information as we can about the hostages that are being held. We have some information, as I said before, on some of the hostages because their families are talking to us, and that's been a terrific source of information and context.
The White House says President Biden spoke with Israel's prime minister today as aid groups and families of hostages push for a ceasefire. A state of emergency in the tiny Indian Ocean island of Seychelles. Officials say massive flooding has killed 3 people, and also a huge explosion occurred at a depot near the capital. The cause of the blast unknown, and officials don't believe it's related to the flooding. You're listening to ABC News.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Lawmakers in Russia have set the country's next presidential election for March of 2024. Vladimir Putin has not yet announced his intention to run again, but it's likely he will seek a 5th term as the country's leader. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says he'll do what it takes to revive a controversial plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, even, he says, if it's to ignore some human rights laws. Last month, the British Supreme Court found the government's proposal unlawful and blocked the plan. Former President Trump back in a New York City courtroom for his civil fraud trial. He's there as a spectator and expected to testify Monday. The judge has already ruled Trump and members of his family lied about their finances as officers of the Trump Organization. ABC's Aaron Katersky is outside the courthouse.
When he testified under examination by the Attorney General's office, he was plenty combative and explained himself that banks were never defrauded, that he thinks the whole case is a sham, that it's brought by a Democratic Attorney General who's just out for political gain. So we're not sure what's really left for him to say, but he clearly wants to come and testify and participate in his trial.
A woman in Ohio who threw food at a Chipotle worker when she was unhappy with her order was convicted of assault and sentenced to 180 days in jail. But the judge said the sentence could be reduced if she agreed to work at a fast food restaurant for 2 months. The woman took the judge up on his offer. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
I'm Scott, the owner of Solid Fire Pits. When I began welding my custom-made fire pits for friends and family, I shared them on TikTok because I was just so proud of them.
Check it out. That's beautiful.
I posted every new fire pit design, and more people kept ordering, from 26 states and counting. Then on my birthday, I had my best sales ever. Now how can the universe beat that?
Solid Fire Pits is just one of the 5 million U.S. businesses that rely on TikTok every day. TikTok sparks business.
Airports Garden Center invites you in for festive holiday events happening all season long. Don't miss the annual Wreaths and Wine Workshop, Sunday, December 10th at Airport Garden Center. It's guaranteed to be an afternoon full of holiday cheer during the Wreaths and Wine event, as the airport elves guide you through the creation of your own personalized wreath while you sip on delicious local wine. This workshop will provide you all the guidance and essentials for you to create a beautiful wreath, including the wreath frame, wire, boughs, and hanger, plus 2 glasses of wine. It's a great time to create a very special holiday decoration to enjoy all season long and spend time with friends and family. Tickets for Wreaths and Wine are $69, available online at airportgarden.biz. That's airportgarden.biz. Come enjoy all the magic of the season at Airport Garden Center. Planting knowledge, growing gardeners, and creating memories since 1977.
KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results, 457-6600. Another candidate announcing a run for the U.S. congressional seat being vacated by Derek Kilmer. This week, Jefferson County Commissioner Kate Dean says she will run for the seat next year. Dean becomes the 3rd Democrat announcing intentions to run for the seat, along with State Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz and State Senator Emily Randall of Bremerton. The only Republican to indicate he's planning to run is State Senator Drew McEwen out of Union.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Highs around 46, west winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Scattered rain showers likely tonight. Lows dip down to about 36. Cloudy skies expected. Slight chance for scattered showers again tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 46, a blend of clouds and sun. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 46 degrees.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
Hey, welcome to the program. First part of the show today, another in a series of great shows coming to Field Arts and Events Hall. They have lined up a holiday schedule that is just unbelievable. And one coming up on Sunday, the 10th, that's this Sunday, is Vitali, an Evening of Wonders. How about a little bit of illusion for you, some magician work and such? This is great to talk on the phone with Vitaly Beckman, who has actually stumped Penn and Teller twice on TV as part of the claim to fame there. Thanks for coming on. I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit about the show you're coming with up to Port Angeles.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. Yes, it's going to be this Sunday.
That's right, and I think it is sold out. However, I'm going to tell folks to check with Field Arts and Events because they sometimes have callbacks, and I may have a couple of tickets to give away here before we're done with this segment. So there's my tease to get people to listen for the next 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, we're going to try to make more seats appear.
I love it. See, that was what I was just going to say. You as an illusionist, you ought to be able to make that theater bigger for at least an hour or so. All right. How did you get started in doing magic? Tell us your story.
Yeah, I was always interested in anything artistic. And when I was a little kid, I saw a magician on television. He made a card castle appear out of under a handkerchief. And I tried to duplicate it when I was at my friend's house. He had alphabet, those blocks, and I tried to make them appear like a pyramid under a handkerchief. And I tricked his grandma as she was coming in. I made it look like they appeared as if I'm performing for somebody, and I pretended that I don't see her, and that I just made them appear out of thin air, and she was amazed. So I think for some reason that's kind of, I don't know how, I think it's a destiny that I tried to do that. And then I decided that that's what I want to do. I don't know, everything kind of fell into place.
Now, I know there is a kind of a magician's code, so I'm not going to ask you to give away any of your secrets or anything like that. But what do you bring that's special to your show, maybe that's unique to any other magician?
I bring art to life. And I incorporate a lot of art elements in the show. So I make paintings come to life and drawings come out of a page, photographs animate. And I even try to use not just photos that I bring, but the audience has, such as the photos on their driver's license. So if you don't like the picture in your driver's license, you can make sure to bring it with you to the show. Or if you're a bad driver, also come to the show, and we're gonna make your face disappear.
I love it. This is really unique illusion, though, that you're doing. That's why I wanted you to describe what you do. How did you get started with that typical style, if you will?
So I used to paint before I did magic, and it felt naturally to just continue incorporating those elements when I started doing magic. And I always looked at magic as an art form as well. And I get inspiration from movies and from music and from paintings as well. So it just felt naturally to do that this way. I always imagined that magicians invent their own magic and illusions. And so that's what I thought is the right way to do. And now I can't see it anywhere else.
Yeah. Now, you've been on the road doing this for a long time. Is it easier to be out touring a show like this, or being, residents, for example, if you get to be in a place for a while? I'm always curious if a magician would rather be in a set theater or a different place every night.
I love to do both, and probably some kind of combination of the two is the best, because when you do a long residency, you kind of miss the road. And when you're on the road for a long time, you wish you were somewhere doing it for a while, not moving so fast from venue to venue. But some kind of combination of the two is probably ideal. But it can get tiring to travel a lot, and it's certainly easier to fine-tune things when you're in the same space.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick just one. I would like to ideally continue doing both.
The reason I'm bringing it up is that you've done a run off Broadway, and that was obviously successful for you, but now here you are out coming all the way to the other side of the continent, literally, to do your show.
Yes.
And different places. How many shows do you do a year? I might be a better way to ask this question before I get to the next part.
Oh, I never actually counted. I think maybe about 100 shows.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. But it's, the Off-Broadway is certainly an amazing experience. And I also had the pleasure of taking it, to other countries.
Right.
I took it to Singapore or South America. And that's part of the pleasure of taking it on the road. You get to see all these places and meet different type of audiences.
Are audiences different in the reaction to what you do in a different country as opposed to here in America?
There are some differences. For example, I mentioned Singapore. They maybe are a little bit more reserved in their vocal reaction. But in terms of human nature, it's very similar. And people respond similarly to magic across cultures. Right. And it's really one of those art forms that can cross, generations and language barriers.
I've got to ask you this. So tell us about your stumping of Penn and Teller, because that's a big part of your story, too. You got on their TV show and fooled, kind of the kings of magic.
Yeah. I was growing up when Penn and Teller were really big, so it was really amazing to be able to go and perform for them. And, of course, the icing on the cake was to stump them. Yeah. I was never a big fan of the idea that magic is all about stumping and fooling people. Right. But in that show, it's kind of an excuse to really showcase great magic,
Yep.
So, but of course, it's wonderful when you can trick such great magicians, and I'm always been a fan of Penn and Teller. The whole experience was really amazing,
right.
And it opened a lot of doors for me. That's how I got to do an off-Broadway show afterwards. And it's actually a funny story because the off-Broadway show I did in New York was in the venue at the West Side Theater. It's the same venue where Penn and Teller started their careers.
Wow.
So it's an interesting coincidence.
Absolutely. And a chance you got to meet Penn and Teller. I mean, if anything, I would think as you mentioned, kind of your heroes in that sense, too. If nothing else, even if you hadn't stumped them, at least you would have had a chance to get close up to them and say hello.
Yeah, they're fun guys, and they're not a lot different off stage than they are on stage.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is it so just about the same shtick, if you will? You got this.
No, Teller does speak, but if Penn is around, then Penn does still most of the talking.
You got it. Yep, you got it. All right. Okay, so you're coming to so take us through how you put a show together. When you build something that you're like what you're bringing out here to Port Angeles, how long does it take you to develop a show? And then how often do you change up your show?
I try to change the show, or at least the illusions in the show, as often as possible. The last couple of years, I added several new pieces, and some of the pieces, in the show, I started working on 2 decades ago. So it's a very long process, and I always try to remove something that I feel is no longer as strong as everything else, and put a new piece in the show. Like right now, I'm doing something with sculpting. Okay. And it's a really amazing piece. It's one of the strongest pieces in the show. I'm very proud of it. And the pandemic, the time off I had there, it allowed me some time to really develop some magic that otherwise I probably wouldn't have chance or time to.
So there you go. We get the pleasure of seeing this on the other end of it as well. Vitaly Beckman, thanks for spending some time with us. Safe travels up this way. We're looking forward to seeing some magic. This, I think, is the first illusionist that we've had in the new theater. So I guess you got that going for you, too. First Penn and Teller, now you're inaugurating illusionists in a beautiful new theater. Yeah, right.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for spending some time with us. And the show is pretty much sold out. However, contact Field Arts and Events Hall. They do have callbacks quite often and can maybe get you some tickets on a waiting list. But I also have 2 pairs of passes to see the 5 p.m. show this Sunday of Vitaly and Evening of Wonders. These are a couple of balcony row seats. If you would like to go, just call right now, 360-457-1450. 360-457-1450. The next 2 callers will set you up each with a pair of passes to go see Vitaly this Sunday evening at Field Arts and Events Hall in Port Angeles. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
I understand that as our world becomes more automated, receiving personalized service from a real person is more meaningful than ever. I'm Dan Shappy, and as a farmer's agent, I know a thing or two about how to help you select the insurance you want so you can
protect what matters most.
Call 360-681-0696 to learn more and chat with me, a real person and experienced farmer's agent, today.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
This is Jonathan Pasternak, Artistic Director of the Port Angeles Symphony. Join me and 65 of our community's finest musicians for the Symphony's annual holiday concert, Saturday, December 9th at the Port Angeles Performing Arts Center. Come experience the thrill of live orchestral music while enjoying festive and seasonal selections, plus the return of our Christmas Carol sing-along. Our special guest artist will be guitar virtuoso Colin Davin, performing Joaquin Rodrigo's Fantasia para un Gentilhombre. Our holiday concert on Saturday, December 9th is the Port Angeles Symphony's most popular concert of the year, so don't miss out. Get your tickets today, online at portangelessymphony.org, by phone at 457-5579, or in person at Port Book and News in downtown Port Angeles. See you at the Symphony.
All right, I still have 1 more pair of passes to go see Vitaly. If you'd like them, call now, 360-457-1450.
Thank you very much. We're the Queens Cartoonists. Are you guys ready to hear some music from cartoons?
The holidays are here at Field Arts and Events Hall, and we're so excited to welcome you and your loved ones to celebrate with us. Get tickets now for the hilarious Queens Cartoonists and watch your favorite Golden Age cartoons take on new life synced to live music and comedy. 'Tis the season for making memories. Visit www.fieldhallevents.org today.
Welcome back to the program. ABC's Brad Milkey and Jay O'Brien talking with us next about modern treasure hunters, their methods and controversies.
It sounds like the occupation you'd aspire to as a first grader, treasure hunter. And yet, as exploration gets more and more advanced and the prizes sitting underwater become more and more valuable, there is a small fraternity of modern-day treasure hunters who are becoming more and more controversial.
There's a lot of folks out there who don't like what you do.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I think there's more that actually really enjoy what we do because it's exciting.
Some scholars are accusing them of picking up where the pirates of yore left off, as in stealing someone else's property and selling it yourself on no one's authority but your own.
And people say, well, whoa, you're still doing it? I'm like, yeah.
Because there's money out there.
Yeah.
ABC's Jay O'Brien decided to join these guys on an expedition to examine who gets control over this stuff sitting on the seabed and therefore who gets control over our history. Jay, first off, this is a thing? Like, this is a real profession that you can have, treasure hunter?
I thought I knew a lot about history, or at least a little bit, and I had no idea this industry existed until I saw a Google ad pop up on my computer about buying gold from a sunken shipwreck. So I clicked on that, and then I did a little research, and I went, wow, this is not just a commercial treasure hunting industry, but there's controversy around this industry as well, about who can hold history in the palm of their hand, who can and who can't.
Hey guys, what's going on? How's it going? I'm Jay. Nice to meet you.
We found a commercial treasure hunting company that operates off the coast of Key West in Florida. It's called Mel Fisher's Treasures. We get on this smaller little motorboat and they tell us they're going to take us about 30 miles offshore. We get all the way out to this commercial salvage ship that's just sitting almost motionless on the ocean floor.
Come in on the port. Come in on the port.
And as we get on the ship, we meet its captain, a guy named Vince Trotta.
I mean, you look like a pirate. You got a pirate hat on.
An honest pirate.
An honest pirate.
Yeah.
Who has been treasure hunting for different missions, different operations across the world for decades.
And how do you find this stuff? Are you just digging with your hands through the...
Well, we excavate with the boxes.
Yeah.
And then in certain areas, once you excavate, the divers go down and we use metal detectors and we do a circle search.
He even at one point, Brad, he showed us this emerald that he'd found from a treasure hunt.
Oh, wow.
It was this brilliant green emerald. And he said, he looked me right in the eye and said, the reason I'm still out here is because there are riches like this on the bottom of the ocean.
And you're saying there are 70 pounds of emeralds that still haven't been recovered?
More. Yeah.
More than 70 pounds.
All right, all clear to dive. Find some gold.
The company says there is $500 million worth of gold. We're talking gold coins, gems, jewels, other, gold-plated objects. They're on the bottom of the ocean that have been there since the 1600s when this Spanish galleon called the Atocha sank in a hurricane.
And Jay, when I hear I think of there are manuscripts. You mean there's gold, there's stuff that is currently worth money today in the marketplace.
We're talking about pirate treasure chest treasure. This was treasure. This is gold sitting on the bottom of the ocean, and that is what they're looking for.
We call this area the Bank of Spain. Where are you going to work? We're going to go work the Bank of Spain.
They have computers, they have software, they have divers.
We're in about 27 foot of water,
yeah.
And there's 10 feet of sand and shell.
They didn't find anything when we were there, and they did multiple dives, but they told us it's kind of not an exact science as to exactly when they find gold and when they don't, but they've got to find enough gold to make this profitable because this is a for-profit enterprise. This is funded, Brad, by investors who get a cut of what you would essentially call the booty.
So what's the problem? That sounds like a Indiana Jones level adventure, and it actually has yielded discoveries, I guess.
So the historical community considers these treasure hunters. And again, it's not just this company. There are dozens across the globe who do this. And the historical community says that they're not just explorers, they're pirates.
What I'm going to show you right now is a wreck site, Queen Anne's Revenge, that was Blackbeard's flagship, and this was actually found by treasure hunters.
Got it.
And they had been looking for it, but then once they found it and saw the artifacts coming out of it, they turned it over to the authorities to excavate scientifically.
We talked to the curator of maritime history at the American History Museum at the Smithsonian, a guy named Paul Johnston.
I think the treasure hunters are using a very limited resource of historic shipwrecks, and they're bottom feeders. They go and they plunder the wrecks just for the things that they can sell.
Bottom feeders.
Bottom feeders, because they're feeding on shipwrecks on the bottom of the sea.
Or sometimes Johnston alleges that treasure hunters actually destroy shipwrecks to get at the gold, and potentially that means breaking apart the vessel to do so.
We look at a shipwreck as an entire assemblage of artifacts. Every shipwreck is a time capsule. When it goes down, it represents a piece of culture, a piece of society, a split moment.
Archaeologists say that you shouldn't be pulling anything up off the ocean floor without first meticulously studying, A, the area it came from, and sometimes even mapping where it is on the ocean floor. And even then, archaeologists say it's not a given that you should just be pulling anything up off the ocean floor like this company and companies across the world do.
But Jay, if you don't like it, if you're one of these scholars, what can you do about it? Because not like you can say, actually, I claim this for myself in the name of science. Like, they're kind of against that whole concept here.
And a lot of the times, these treasure hunters have the legal rights, Brad, remember, to salvage these vessels. And so legally, there's even less that the historical community can do. Really, what they can do, and what they have been doing, is criticize these treasure hunters for their practices. And oftentimes, they make such a stink about the practices that it gets the federal government or the state government, or whoever controls these waters, to take a more quizzical look at treasure hunting practices and potentially maybe throw up some more red tape than they would have in the past. We talked to some treasure hunters who say they're experiencing more red tape and more scrutiny now than they ever have before. But it's worth pointing out, Brad, there's a whole other side to this equation.
Mel went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court and won title and ownership of the Atocha because it had been abandoned and lost for so long.
Who was fighting to keep him from owning it?
Everyone.
The treasure hunter's argument is that historians don't have the resources, or sometimes just don't have the drive, to go find these wrecks at the bottom of the ocean. Or if they find them, they don't have the ability to salvage the wrecks as quickly as a treasure hunter would.
Oh, like you wouldn't have known about this place, let alone dug it up, if it wasn't for me.
That's exactly what they say.
If you left it to government agencies, I think they would leave it, as they say, in situ, and it would just rot and go away.
Historians balk at that argument because their argument is, well, you don't get to just take history because it would sit on the bottom of the ocean.
The shipwrecks might eventually be found or recovered by scientific archaeological means, which would show all of the artifacts from a shipwreck, not just the gold.
This is a fight that has gone on for so long that major museums, institutions that are accredited museums, like the Smithsonian, for instance, they will not accept artifacts from treasure hunters. They have made that abundantly clear because they don't want to encourage this practice.
That they would even turn down a chance to have these pieces of history because they're worried about what it does to all the other history sitting out there. But then, Jay, I wonder if that kind of bifurcates the practice even more. Because, like, if you're an academic, you might not have the opportunity or the money to do all the exploration you want to do. So you're either one of those people or you're one of these treasure hunters. You can't even offload your findings to academic institutions. So why not sell it for all you can?
A lot of the times what treasure hunters do when they're faced with that problem that you're talking about is they open their own museums. So the Mel Fishers, the company we met in Florida, they have their own museum that they run that is full of their artifacts that they found. We met another crew in Seattle.
I'm more of a history explorer. Or
you don't
explorer.
Consider yourself a treasure hunter?
No, and that's because I've met treasure hunters.
They are looking for a little bit more of a modern wreck, if you can call it a modern wreck. It's a ship that went down in the 1800s full of gold rush riches off the coast of Washington State.
I believe that people like ourselves can do it absolutely the right way, work with the marine archaeologists, preserve the artifacts, preserve the history, and that's what we're doing.
They want to pull up the gold, certainly, and they have investors too, but the artifacts they find, which they believe will be perfectly preserved because of the condition of the vessel, not to get too technical, they say they're going to put those artifacts in a museum that they create because the unwritten part of that is that other museums like the Smithsonian likely wouldn't accept them because they were part of a treasure hunting operation.
And I wonder if that's a not-for-profit, the way the Smithsonian is, or if that becomes a for-profit enterprise in itself. All right, Jay O'Brien, really interesting reporting here, and I guess a trip to Key West, so he's not complaining.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg is always adding to the list of things they provide to keep your vehicle looking brand new. The full detail shop is just one more service to check off that list. Not only will your interior and exterior shine, your engine will sparkle too. Red Carpet is also getting some winter upgrades, including new equipment in the manual bay and new vacuums. Call Kyle today and let him get you scheduled for your red carpet treatment Tuesday through Saturday. 360-461-0826.
There's something truly special about family and friends coming together. At Foghorn Olive Oil and Wine Bar, we invite you to elevate those experiences with the perfect pairing of olive oils and balsamic vinegars. Visit us today and let's celebrate the beauty of family, the joy of friendship, and the love of food. Because when you share our olive oils and balsamic vinegars with your loved ones, you're sharing a piece of your heart. Foghorn Olive Oil and Wine Bar, where memories are made and flavors are shared. Cheers to you and your loved ones.
Oh, the many things we love about Squim. Yes, the sunshine, charming downtown, the simple life, and A1 Auto Parts in downtown Squim. A1 Auto Parts and Marine has been locally owned longer than the Bypass has been there, delivering quality parts with professional expert service. You can rely on A1 Auto Parts to keep you and your car on the road. Find the experts at A1 in downtown Squim.
Stick out your tongue and say, ah, it's the craziest thing you ever saw. Here at Olympic Game Farm, they say howdy with a wave of a paw. Now it's hard to steer clear of the elk and the deer when they pop in to say hello. They've got lions and tigers and bears. Oh, don't forget about the buffalo. It's impossible to stay calm. So come out with your dad and your mom. Canine and feline, you'll find us online at onlygamefarm.com.
Something astounding awaits you at McCrory Carpet One in Squim, Port Angeles, and Port Hadlock. All McCrory Carpet One showrooms have been remodeled, revamped, reorganized, and are even better and more luxurious than before. Bigger displays, more options, updated styles, colors, and trends. McCrory Carpet One is the #1 place on the peninsula for any and all of your flooring needs. Check out their beautiful new showrooms in Squim, Port Angeles, and Port Hadlock.
For the Washington State News Network, I'm Rob Francis. Washington State Legislature will begin its annual session next month with a focus on updating state budgets. The nearly $70 billion operating budget is currently in good shape, with more money flowing into the state than previously projected. State Senator Brad Hawkins of the 12th District is taking a cautious approach to spending because some economists are forecasting revenues to flatten over the next 2 to 4 years.
I don't think we need new taxes because the revenues are slightly up, but I also think we need to be cautious about adding new programs until we get through this 2-year period.
Hawkins wants to set aside money in the state's reserve account to weather any reduction in revenues. Keep an eye on your mailbox. You could be getting a check in the mail from the Attorney General's office for overpaying for chicken or tuna. The AG's office distributing checks of either $50 or $120 to over 400,000 households by the end of the month over alleged price fixing on their chicken and tuna products. Households living at 175% of the federal poverty line or less will receive a check. And the city of Tacoma, first in Washington to ban cat declawing, process which is also known as denukling because it would be similar to amputating amputating a human finger at the last knuckle. It can impair a cat's ability to walk, cause paw pain or infections. Caul can also regrow, causing nerve damage. Ban will go into effect March 31st of next year. For more on these stories and others, download the WSNN mobile app or visit our website, pnwag.net.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Highs around 46, west winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Scattered rain showers likely tonight, lows dip down to about 36. Cloudy skies expected. Slight chance for scattered showers again tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 46, a blend of clouds and sun. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 46 degrees.
All right, we had an illusionist on the first segment. We were going to give you some illusion of business here in the last segment of the program. It's good to have Kevin Holt back after a couple of weeks off with the holiday and some other things there. And he's back with our Business Bit segment, which we do the last part of every Thursday show here on the TO Show. And Kevin, how you doing?
Always a pleasure to be
nice
here.
To see you again.
Wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you and all the listeners did too.
We did. All right, so we're going to actually, you warned me, this is going to be a little bit of a, I guess, another conglomeration, if you will, of some business tidbits that you've brought together for us today.
If we got it done earlier, I would have called it a November none such, but I guess we'll call this a December declination.
I like that. That's very good. Okay, dive in.
Absolutely.
Lead us.
Well, the last time we met, we talked a little bit about price being more than money, and we were talking about what small businesses can do to help mitigate the shock of the inflation-driven price increases they must make to stay in business. We talked about getting to know your customers, and we talked about some other things that we'll get into in just a minute. But first, there's a couple more items that have crossed the Business Bits news desk, and I'd love for us to take a moment to enjoy the following. First, we're going to talk about the Hawthorne effect, then a little thing called credit washing, and finally we're going to find out why we can't have nice things. So the Hawthorne effect, and I'll explain what that is in a moment, but during our last show, I did share the, I thought, rather shocking news that the salary required to be exempt from overtime in 2024 in Washington State jumps from $57,000 up to $67,000. That's an increase of over 18%, also known as more than double the rate
and that's
of inflation.
in 1 year,
In
folks.
1 year.
Right,
In 1 year. 3 years ago, that threshold was $35,000. In 2028, just four short years from now, it's going to be $92,000 a year in order to be exempt from overtime. So now we see the effect of the Hawthorne effect. That's also known as the law of unintended consequences. The good intention of protecting salaried workers had the unintended consequence of gutting nonprofit service providers. And a report featuring the Snohomish County Boys and Girls Club really illustrates the problem. As the director stated in a recent interview, you can't just shut the doors at 5 o'clock at the Boys and Girls Club to save money on overtime. The problem comes up when people get stuck in traffic or they have other emergencies, and the Boys and Girls Club has to hold on to those children under care until the parents arrive to pick them up. So when an employee is exempt from overtime, that worker can stay late one day or another without any financial penalty to the employer. When the legislature takes that away, we're learning that services suffer. For a nonprofit organization reliant on fixed revenue like grants and donations, the salary range requirement now means they can only lay off staff and reduce services to come in under that deadline. So did the legislature intend to pass a law that led to shorter hours and fewer services for after-school youth?
I don't think they were thinking that was going to happen, but that's probably what we'll feel first, things like that.
We will, and we've seen an example of this in the grocery store. We were asked to give up single-use bags that had around 5 grams of evil plastic in each bag. We got a brief flirtation with with paper bags, and then those kind of went away, and we're now offered these reusable plastic bags. I put one on a scale that has 25 grams of evil plastic. So it has 5 times the plastic content, so we need to reuse that bag at least 5 times just to get back to where we were with the old bags. You're doing that, right?
I am not doing that. No.
Well, neither am I. I reuse these 25-gram bags the same way I reused the 5-gram bags as liners for those little trash cans in the bathrooms, the sewing room, and the study. Meaning I now throw away 5 times more plastic than before we banned plastic bags. I can't wait to see Hawthorne show up in affordable housing policy. So that was named after an experiment.
Yeah, I was going to say, where did the name come from?
It was at the Hawthorne plant that General Electric had back when electric light was first being introduced into factories. And General Electric wasn't quite sure that this was going to be a good idea. So they hired some guys to watch the workers. They set up 2 plants. One had electric light, one did not. And they said, well, we'll watch everybody's productivity, and then we'll compare, and we'll see for sure if electric lights need to be installed. They got the results. Everybody's performance went up 30%. Why?
Lights or not.
They were being watched.
That's right. I was just going to say, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
Unintended consequences.
Oh,
do we need lights? No, just have somebody watch them all day.
That's right.
Boom.
It might have been cheaper in the day than to, electrify the plant.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right during when Frederick Taylor was introducing the scientific method into management, so it's become known as the Hawthorne effect.
Oh, see, I've learned even more than wait.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about credit washing. Some people may not know anything, so I hope you're going to define this for us.
We do. We have a little background for you. Credit washing is actually a scam, and we're going to talk about that. It's related to something from the 90s called dispute dumping. And this all gets back to the Fair Credit Reporting Act from the Federal Trade Commission. That gives, in this case, in the case of credit washing, gives identity victims the right to dispute a negative entry in your credit report if that's related to identity theft. Well, that makes sense. I mean, if somebody fakes my identity and creates a credit account down at the store and buys a bunch of stuff, I need to hold that out of my credit report until we can investigate it. So credit washing is an abuse of these rights. By misusing the FTC's identity theft report process, a consumer, or quite honestly, more frequently, a rogue credit repair service, he says with air quotes, will submit an identity theft report falsely claiming one or more negative entries is the result of identity theft. The disputed entry must be removed and investigated, and that temporarily improves the debtor's credit score. If you can get that negative comment removed, or at least set aside, you get a better credit score. Often, that negative entry will be repeatedly disputed over an extended period of time, like when you're applying for a mortgage. Just keep disputing it, keep that credit score up there. And that will prolong the fraudulent improvement in their credit score. Now, how much will it improve? Well, I've got some examples here. First of all, the timeline. It starts out, you go to the bank, you find out your credit score is 594. So you hire a phony baloney credit counselor, and they get a copy of your credit report, and then they pick out the most horrific notations in your credit report, and they submit a false police report that they've completely cobbed up on their own, saying this was identity theft and it's under investigation.
Even though it's not. Even if it's a legitimate purchase or whatever. Yeah.
You've got a $10,000 limit on your credit card. You're over limit for 6 months. You haven't made a payment for 3 months. Now we can move that off the credit report by disputing it. There's an example here in my printout of a client that started with a credit score of 573. They had 6 credit accounts that were over limit. Their phony baloney credit counselor disputed 5 of them. They ended up with a credit score of 762. They went from unlendable at 573 to
stellar
middle
in a way.
of the right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got a loan coming, no problem.
Exactly.
So, and the other part of this, I'm looking at your graph here, is the timeline on this.
Yes.
It from April, and then you had this credit score of 573 in April. By the end of the year, you were at 762. So in less
8
than
months.
Yeah,
right.
not even 9 months.
Right. And so again, and a lot of people look at this when they're about to buy a car, they're about to buy a house. They hook up with these folks, and many times the victims don't know that all of this false report submission is going on. They just think the person's magic. The average credit score improvement's 100 points. Who couldn't use 100 points on their credit score?
Right.
So the extensive abuse of credit washing recently came to light in Houston, Texas. This story broke about a week ago, where a network of fraudulent credit repair counselors were caught submitting thousands of baseless identity theft reports. Now, shout out to Todd. He had an interview earlier this year with Dalia DiPolito, who was in prison for arranging a hit on an ex-husband.
That's right.
This fraud was discovered during a murder-for-hire investigation. One of the fraudulent credit counselors was trying to cut down the competition. As a result of that investigation, they started looking into things and found these false submissions. Now, the debtor didn't know their credit score was being improved this way, but when it gets caught out, they're charged with a crime. Because somewhere in the process, the credit counselor had them sign a bunch of papers they weren't really looking at.
That released them of all of the
Exactly.
issues, right? This becomes your problem.
Also, their signature showed up on the fake police report.
Of course they did.
And so they are actually in trouble. So the credit issuers lose, the debtor loses, and we lose, because who's going to make up all those losses?
Yeah.
We are.
There's no such thing as a free lunch, as they've always said, and that always gets passed on to the legitimate consumers, quite frankly. I mean,
Every time, as shoplifting gets passed on to us, all of this.
So in all of this, can we believe any of these credit consolidated, these counselors, if you will? There are legitimate ones, I know.
And the best way to find them is through a mortgage broker.
Okay.
Or some other a real estate agent who has to live with you throughout the process. And they're going to do it the hard way. They're going to have you review your credit report. They're going to have you pay off some of the more difficult ones. They're going to ask you to enter into a documented, recorded at the court payment plan with some of your creditors. They're going to ask you to negotiate with your creditors and maybe get them to write something off or give you a different time frame. It happens from time to time with business loans where, like during the recession or during the pandemic, a borrower falls behind. It's a good business, but circumstances beyond their control kind of thumped them, and the bank will actually rewrite the loan and say, what we're going to do is fold in your late fees. We're going to rewrite the loan for the new amount, and we're going to start with a new payment schedule and a new due date to kind of wash this out and move it forward, but it's all done above board.
Yeah, and that's a legitimate plan. Not someone who floats in and say, hey, look, tomorrow I'll improve you by 150 points.
I'll get you 150 points.
You don't have to do a thing. Just sign a few documents.
Exactly. Isn't it magic? It's wonderful.
Love it. All right, so we're going to take a break.
Yes.
We'll come back and we're going to talk about why we can't have nice things.
We sure can't.
We may have illustrated some of it just in the first part.
We sure did.
All right, back with more with our business bits and our business guru, Kevin Holt. And by the way, Kevin puts up show notes on his website at kevinyourbusinesscoach.com.
Yes, I do.
Soon after these programs, and you can actually, you yourself can look at this graph we were referring to.
You can see the graph, and you can see the show because I always put the videos up.
There you go. All right, we'll take a break. Be back with more in just a moment.
I understand that as our world becomes more automated, receiving personalized service from a real person is more meaningful than ever. I'm Dan Shappy, and as a farmer's agent, I know a thing or two about how to help you select the insurance you want so you can
protect what matters most.
Call 360-681-0696 to learn more and chat with me, a real person and experienced farmer's agent, today.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg is always adding to the list of things they provide to keep your vehicle looking brand new. The full detail shop is just one more service to check off that list. Not only will your interior and exterior shine, your engine will sparkle too. Red Carpet is also getting some winter upgrades, including new equipment in the manual bay and new vacuums. Call Kyle today and let him get you scheduled for your red carpet treatment Tuesday through Saturday. 360-461-0826.
If you're an avid DIYer or builder, it's a necessity to have the right tool for the job. Makita and Milwaukee Power Tools have more than 200 right tools for the job, all running on their own battery platforms. That means a battery from your Makita or Milwaukee drill will also fit the battery to your same brand circular saw, leaf blower, grinder, or any of the other 196 tools they make. At Angelus Millwork and Hartnagel's, we stock the largest selection of Makita and Milwaukee power tools in the area, and we'll back it up by matching any non-promotional advertised price. These are not the power tools of 10 or even 5 years ago. The technology has grown to allow for greater power, longer battery life, and greater versatility. If you haven't handled a power tool in a while, we invite you to come on in and try one out for yourself. Make your next project that much easier with a Makita or Milwaukee power tool from Angelus Millwork and Hartnagel's. Angelus Millwork and Hartnagel Building Supply. Building homes, building community since 1906.
Sail away to Victoria, BC on the Coho to see the magic of Christmas at the Butch Art Gardens. Stroll through the 12 days of Christmas displays with nearly 1 million twinkling lights from December 1st through the 31st. Overnight packages from $169 USD per person, based on double occupancy. Packages include ferry fare, a hotel stay in Victoria, and admission and shuttle to the Butch Art Gardens. What a great gift for a loved one or yourself. Learn more at cohoferry.com.
Hey, Clallam County, PA Panto is back. This year, we're catching up with Ariel. She's middle-aged and might need the number of a good lawyer. Come join us in the undersea kingdom of Pisht. You'll romp with mermaids, and the squid, and some sea monkeys. Triton is into self-care. Ogai is plotting a hostile takeover. And Ethel just wants it all to make sense. PA Panto returns. Go to jffa.org for tickets and information.
It's Thursday. Our last segment is dedicated to our business bits. That's when our good friend Kevin Holt, our business advisor in-house,
That's right,
comes in to tell us about things that we should be aware of, both as consumers, business owners, as shoppers, working for a business, you name it. And so now we're going on to thing 3 today, and that is why we can't have nice things. So, well,
yes, and we can't, and it's so frustrating. This goes back to the big noise the Federal Communications Commission made back in 2021 about robocalls. Now, I didn't remember that either until I read this follow-up report. Back in 21, the FCC mandated that telephone carriers must refuse traffic from sources known to create robocalls. So, going forward, they said that these telephone companies, or telcos as they like to call them, they need to provide a written robocall mitigation plan by June of 2023. Kind of a long deadline there, but I guess they figured they'd give them lots, in case their dog ate their homework. And they told them that if they do not submit that plan, they would be banned from the United States telephone exchange system. It's the death penalty for telephone companies. So in June, the deadline passed, and the FCC opened up their email, and they got a few surprises in their inbox. As some of you might be reminded of tricks you pulled in college when your assignment wasn't ready by the deadline. 20 companies turned in plans that consisted of things that weren't plans at all. One was a stack of 30 blank pages when it was printed out. Speaking of printing, another one was a Windows print test page. That was their robocall mitigation report. Another one submitted a document signed by the CEO stating that the plan was in place. There you go. We're all done.
That's it? Yeah, one line.
Another CEO was more creative. He said that there is no plan, and we can't give you one. And then finally, there was one company that did the old junior high school trick of sending an inappropriate image as their report. So that's it, right? They're all going to get the death penalty. They're going to be disconnected from the U.S. phone system, and we won't get any more robocalls. Except it was pointed out to the FCC that they're actually in the business of securing communication, not stopping it. And it was also pointed out that the death penalty really wouldn't affect the companies because it would remove their system that their subscribers use. And half of these companies, 10 of them, were located in the United States. So if they were given the death penalty, their subscribers would not be able to use their phones at all. So realizing that the innocent would be punished and the guilty only mildly inconvenienced, the FCC is throwing the whole thing out. Meanwhile, your phone will continue to ring as AI works its way into the robocall business.
Yeah. Who would have thought, well, it's our government, I guess, in some ways. But, why didn't somebody come up with the idea that, if we take away that service provider, that's really going to affect the consumers that already are using that service. You can't just hang them out there unless you do a government takeover.
I think they got all excited about the death penalty, and they just didn't think
I think
about
they thought that the stick was going to be enough that everybody would comply.
They would just be so scared that they'd jump right into it. So if you remember your English class, the robocall plan was hoisted on its own petard, and we are back to square one.
Oh, I'm scared of the AI's thing, by the way. We were talking to.
Oh, hello, Todd. Please send me some money now. Yes, it's going to get ugly. It's going to turn into the same thing we do with email, which is don't touch anything you don't recognize.
Right.
If your granddaughter calls you and says she's in Mexico and she just broke her leg and she needs $5,000 to get treated, call your granddaughter, call your daughter, call your
call
son.
Somebody.
Yeah. Follow up because you are probably getting hosed. Well, very briefly, we've got just a couple of minutes, and I have used up all of our prices more than money time for our business bits. But to just give you a little something to stay tuned for next week, we talked briefly about all of the strategies that businesses can use to help them manage their pricing in inflationary times. So the things that we talked about last time were learning about your customers, learning about what your customers really buy and what you really sell, and what your customers really crave. We want to get your customers to line up in front of your store just like they did for Steve Jobs when a new Apple product came out. That is called supporting price elasticity with non-monetary discounts. We talked about that last time. Things like confidence, convenience, and collaboration to better satisfy consumer needs. So next time, we're going to talk a little bit about the biggest challenge small businesses face and the most frightening discovery of my business coaching career when we talk about how businesses need to move forward in these inflationary times to protect themselves financially.
All right. And it's not always about money, as you just pointed out. We're probably going to learn a little bit more, aren't we, about the fact that it's as much as dollars and cents comes to the forefront, that's usually
it's only
secondary.
Part of it. That's right. It's only part of the deal.
All
and
right.
if there aren't a whole bunch more interesting business stories, we'll get to that.
Yeah. Well, you've come up with some good gems.
There's some
lately.
cool stuff out there, unfortunately.
Well, you call it cool. I'm not sure if I call it cool, but we'll leave it at that. Kevin, always great to have you. Thanks
pleasure.
for coming in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Last bit on our Thursday program here is Business Bits with Kevin Holt, our business guru. And again, you can catch up with him and all of his past shows and all of the great documentation that he brings.
Yes.
You can read it yourself at kevinyourbusinesscoach.com. And by the way, you can actually drop a line to Kevin that way, and sometimes it makes it on the show.
We actually bring it up right here. You can find the email address on that website.
All right, Kevin.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the week. We'll talk to you next week. We're going to take a break, and we'll check in with some news coming up in the top of the hour right after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
It's time for Your Port of PA Today. A look inside the port and share what's in it for you.
This is Steve Burke, Commissioner with the Port of Port Angeles. I am very happy to share with you that there are big developments at the Port of PA. The port was awarded a grant in excess of $7 million for the development of the former Cape Lice site. With this grant, the port will invest over $11 million building an advanced marine trade center. What's a new Marine Trade Center mean for our community? It will immediately attract new business to our area, help expand existing businesses, and generate high-quality jobs for our local community. This project will positively impact all countywide, elevating our area as a major player for economic development. If you want to know more about what the port is doing in our community, reach out to us at hello@portofpa.com.
This has been your Port of PA Today. Explore portofpa.com.
Swain's newest holiday sale brings huge savings on so many top brands. Carhartt pullover sweatshirts are now 20% off. You'll see Georgia boots for $15 off, and Bear Paw women's footwear is 25% off. The man in your life might love the Craftsman socket set for only $18.87. That's a $10 savings. And older kids love a good puzzle. You'll find True Genius Brain Teaser puzzles for only 74 cents to just $5.49. All this and more at Swain's General Store.
It's time to play Perfect Food Pairings, brought to you by Mountain Dew. This dish pairs perfectly with the bold citrus kick of Mountain Dew.
Oh, street tacos.
Sorry, that is not the answer we're looking for.
Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Sorry, that is also not the answer.
What the heck?
Is it chicken wings? Correct.
What? Wait a second.
Yeah, hold on. Mountain Dew pairs perfectly with street tacos.
And Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
This show is so lame.
The show is not lame.
Yeah, you're lame.
Nothing pairs perfectly with food like Mountain Dew. Do the Dew.
Hi, this is Hannah from Browns. The holiday season is here, and Browns is fully stocked up with great gifts for that hiker backpacker on your list. We've stocked up on Hydro Flask, Bronwyn jewelry, and Sunski sunglasses for the gift-giving season. Have any travel excursions coming up for the new year? Browns has 20% off all rolling and carry-on luggage in stock. The holiday savings are on at Browns, but hurry because these savings are only for a limited time. Browns Outdoor has been family-owned and outfitting the Olympic Peninsula for like forever.
When purchasing a home or land, nobody wants to inherit existing debts or legal issues that could interfere with their property rights in the future. That's why it's important to work with local title insurance professionals and protect your rights with owner's title insurance. Olympic Peninsula Title has been protecting the property rights of Clallam County customers for 35 years. Put our team of professionals to work for you. For title insurance, contract collections, and escrow services, opt for Olympic Peninsula Title.
Thanks again for joining us on the TO Show.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
We're the talk of the peninsula. Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles Squim, FM 101.7 and 101.3, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Frank.